Hey guys, and it's David here back again with another podcast. And today I have Regan and Phuong here on the channel. And turns out today is a Cerebral Palsy Awareness Day, and we're going to get to talk about how they met, and of course, they get to share. They're going to share advice on how to succeed as an interabled couple. So Phuong and Regan, welcome.
Hi, thank you
All
for
right,
having
thank you.
us.
So I will first and foremost, I'd like to say it's fantastic that you guys are together. I dug a little bit into how you guys met, and it's fantastic. It's really rare to see someone meet, have a connection so not just quickly, but be able to connect in every aspect. So can you share how you guys kind of met and how you guys really connected?
So we met on eHarmony, so online, because these days it's really hard to just meet people out, and especially I work from home, and I started working from back in 2015, so I don't really go out too much, and when I do go out, it's with friends, and it's just really hard meeting people that way. So one day I was like, you know what, we'll try to do an online thing. And I was doing online dating for about a year before I met Regan. And, met a few nice people, met a few that are a little bit, judgmental. Like they would go out with me, but then at the same time, like you can kind of feel like they're not really like okay or comfortable with like cerebral palsy or disability in general. And I kind of get that too. So after a while, I'm just like, well, should I keep trying or just, take a small break? And before you know it, he messaged me, and some other people do as well. And I'm upfront on my page as well. It's like I have cerebral palsy, and there's a lot of guys who didn't mind that um about that. And there's a lot of really nice guys, and some don't care, but you just don't really click, as personality wise. But with him, it's pretty fast.
Oh yeah, I feel you. I've been on those dating sites before, and it can be very superficial and very brutal, especially for individuals like ourselves. And it's all like you said, you did the perfect thing by just putting yourself out there first and foremost. Because
Right.
if you don't, and if they find out like after the fact, they'll be like, "What?" But but it's always awesome to just be upfront with everything, especially when it comes to disability, because they need to know the full you, not just half of you. I
Right.
mean, no one eats half a cookie and leaves the whole glass of milk, you know?
Yeah.
So Regan, I wanted to ask you, have you ever, I think, experienced like any like trouble in public where people kind of, I guess, shame you or treat you differently because you're dating Fong or you're
I don't.
married to her. I'm sorry.
No, I don't really see much of a difference towards me. I do see how the public sees her. They don't really see me around her. They just see her and her walker. Most of the time, we get stares from little kids or like, especially from little Asian girls,
Yeah.
going like what happened to her, and like they just don't know uh, what her disability is like, and most of the time it's me just trying to get people out of the handicap zone or the walkway. I'm just like, no, you shouldn't have to go around people, blah blah blah, And usually she'd be the first one to be a little hot headed about it, but I try to stick up for her as much as I can. Um, but I don't see any difference towards me, towards her, yes. But I don't feel any different if I was dating a non-disabled person or not.
That is awesome. I mean, I've dated somebody, and I've dated somebody able-bodied and disabled before, and you could tell there's differences between both.
Right.
But the whole, getting through crowds and having to deal with people that are very disrespectful. It's always there. It's always there. Like you had to deal with people that just like you, like, why are you dating this guy when you could do something better, or this woman when you could do something better? And I'm sure you hear that a lot, you know, especially out in public. Somebody will come up to you and just say something blatant. But at the end of the day, it's up to us to just blow it off and just keep on moving. You know,
Right.
it's so following that, Phuong, did you ever experience like did you have difficulty at first? I mean, getting into like the dating scene in general, and just because of, cerebral palsy?
Kind of. I'm just kind of a little nervous about how, somebody would help me get into the car or things like that. Like I would just be like, I don't drive, so if you're gonna go on a date with me, you have to pick me up. Like I lived with my parents, before moving with Regan. So I told them up front, like this is what it is, and they're really okay with that. It's usually just trying to get into the car, and they sometimes like, oh, how do you want me to help you, and things like that. So with the ones that I've dated before, a lot of them are really nice, and really accommodating. The only thing that I've noticed, especially now, with Regan, since we first started dating, is that you know how sometimes when people try to approach you, they'll talk to you, but as far as me, they would go to Regan's first. And there's two things that we would try to see if this is how. Like one thing could be, because sometimes people think that disabled people can't speak for themselves, and so they'll try to talk to somebody who's like right next to us that seems, non-disabled. Another thing is that I look really young, especially if I don't wear makeup. Many people think I'm like 12, and there's a few people literally ask us if Regan is my legal guardian or a parent
What?
a couple of
Yeah.
times. So
Wow.
sometimes when
Yeah,
they just
especially with
come
the
to
mask.
him, yeah, especially with COVID and the mask, you just see my eyes and my tiny body. I'm 4'6", and when I wear heels outside, I'm about 4'9", 4'10". So I'm really really short. And standing next to him, he's 5'10". You can see a big difference in how young that I look.
Yeah, I can tell by the pictures. He's tall. I can see the difference in height.
Yeah,
But but it's crazy. I'm short myself, and I always get the same exact reaction.
yeah,
But I just tell people, hey, it's at least I could be 12 forever. I can go to a buffet and be like, hey, I'm 12. I can get away with stuff. And hey, take your height to your advantage. Use it as a gift.
right. Yeah, so sometimes I just think that because I look pretty young, most of the time is the reason why like people would talk to him first before they do to me. But like once they get to know me, they can tell like I'm the one making a decision because whenever we go to buy the house or when we purchase a car together, and like when they see me walking in and they will talk to him for a little bit, but as soon as I started talking, and they're just like, "You sure you don't want a job here?" Like when we got the car, together. I would be the one negotiating the rates and be like, well, can you do better than this? Because I did my research and, things like that. And they're like, you sure you don't want a job here? Because you'll be really good at what you do. So
I can picture
sometimes I
Regan
take them
now.
by
I can picture
surprise.
Regan now. He's like, talk to her. Don't talk to me. Talk to her. She let her do the talking. I don't
Yeah.
want to deal with you guys.
And I guess
That-
maybe sometimes I do, like overcompensate because, with disability, people think that when you have a physical disability, you might have a mental disability as well. That sometimes goes hand in hand to where you think like, oh, she might not be as intelligent or he might not be as intelligent. Like back in high school, they accidentally put me into like a special ed class, because they didn't think I'm a fast learner, but I'm really good at so within a week there I noticed something's up. I talked to one of my teachers like I don't think this class is for me because I've learned this last year already. And when they're like, I think they put you in the wrong class, and we went to the counselor and they switched me. So it's one of those my guess is like prejudice, that people assume for themselves.
yeah, I can tell you from personal experience that myself, I was in a special ed class, and luckily my of course I had my stepmom at the time. She's like, oh no, we're gonna take you out. This is the wrong class for you, and I know you got more potential than that.
Yeah.
And she ended up taking me out. So I ended up being out of special ed. So the thing with when it comes to education and disabilities is that there's a huge common misconception that physically we struggle, but to the general public, it also leads to the mental side of it. So they think, oh, you're physically disabled, then it has to impact you mentally as well. But that's
Yeah.
not the case.
That's
That's
not the
not the
case,
case.
especially with cerebral palsy. You know, like, you know, many of them does have an impact mentally as well, and that's totally fine. Like, I advocated for everyone, like I try to, but at the same time, I like just don't assume, you know, like people do that a lot, especially in growing up in Asia too. And like he mentioned, usually like little girls or little boys would stare at me a lot, and especially if they're like Asian descent. I know that with a lot of Asian culture, disability is not really the norm. Like when I grew up and my mom had me, no one know what I had. Like I don't think Vietnam knows what cerebral palsy is. So I was never treated until I grew up here. And I started my treatment when I was like about 9 years old.
Wow.
So I started out pretty late versus, you know, like other kids that were born here. And so, you know, people don't really talk about it because they don't think they still have like a prejudice to where you shouldn't be outside, you shouldn't have a normal life and things like that. So I kind of grew up around those kind of mentality and think like, well, what's going to happen to her when she grows up and how she going to live life and things like that. And I feel like I just try to prove people that I can do it and that, you know, in the US it's a lot better than growing up in Asia, but I try to advocate for basically both countries, really.
That is awesome. We need more people like that, and right now is the perfect time, especially what we're dealing with now,
Yeah.
to just get out there and advocate and speak for yourself, and just spread positivity everywhere you go. Because right now we need more positivity than ever, especially with what we're dealing with every day on a daily basis. It's horrible. So Regan, what is your experience with disability? Like, what did you, I guess, have a family member with a disability, or how did you learn about disability firsthand?
Well, I had some classmates that have disabilities as well. I kind of grew up like elementary, middle school, high school, alongside of many people with disabilities. So I wasn't really out of the normal for me to come across somebody with a disability, whether that be cerebral palsy or autism or any, I think a couple of Down syndrome. I've been relatively known for people with disabilities, so it didn't really surprise me or catch me off guard, or I didn't see them as out of the norm. So when she first introduced herself, when we first started talking online, was she says I have cerebral palsy. Well, of course, most of the time when you don't know what kind of disability it is, you go Google search engine and look it up, and it'll give you a brief explanation of what it is. And when after I did that, I was like, oh well, I knew a girl in my classroom that used to have it, and she was like the sweetest girl in the class. She's actually quite funny too. So she asked me like, "Do you have any questions about it?" I said, "No, I don't have any questions." So she took that as like as a question mark, basically.
A sign of comfort that you were comfortable about it.
Yeah. So when I first picked her up, I made sure that I got the address right, and I circled the block a couple of times to make sure I wasn't too early or I wasn't going to be late. But I showed up on time. Her mom introduced her to myself, and the first thing that popped in my mind is she's a lot shorter than she said she was. So
I told him I was about like 4'8", 4'9", because like, you know, if you go to the doctor and have shoes on and they usually measure you and think of it. And yeah, like he's like, no, you're not.
I can imagine like Regan walking in, be like, "Oh boy, here come the parents," and then he looks at you and be like, "Wait a minute, but you're shorter than what I thought. What's going on here?"
yeah.
Oh man, it's I mean, to hear something like that, it's incredible, you know. And you guys have been together for quite a bit, right?
Almost 4 years. Yeah.
4 years going strong. That's awesome. Um, and then what is how do you guys compliment each other as far as like skills? I mean, who's the better cook? Who's the better driver? Things. So you're the better everything. Is that what it is, Regan?
Yeah, I used to work as a chef, and obviously I'm the designated driver. So she gets to go out drinking more than I do.
So you're more of the party planner. Is that
Mm.
right, Phuong? You're more of the, you plan
Yeah,
everything
I
out?
plan stuff. I don't drink as tea, I don't drink that much because I'm very lightweight. So one drink, like I'm done. But yeah, he pretty much like drives around and I would tell him, what I want to do and things like that. And he usually just okay with whatever I'm trying to plan. And
Oh man, now that you told Regan, now that you told me that you were a chef, I'm gonna have to go up there and visit you guys. I
yeah,
gotta try some of that food.
definitely. It's
Yeah.
funny too, because like, like growing up, like sometimes my mom would just like, well, since you can do a lot, like especially like, the chores and stuff around the house, and you like your husband would have to like cook and stuff. I was like, yeah, I would love to marry a chef. Like one of my favorite show back then was Take Home Chef. I don't know if you heard of that, but it's basically like this guy walking around like the supermarket talking to people and say if they just need to surprise somebody for a meal that night and things like that. And he'll go home with them and he'll make them a really nice meal. And I'm just thinking, like, I would love to have a husband like that one day. And
Yeah, and now there he is, right? He is right there.
yeah,
You got the whole package. A
yeah.
cook, a driver, a really nice, funny and friendly guy. Hey, what more can you ask for, right?
No, it's a total surprise too. It's just like, cause like growing up, it's like I don't think about marriage really. Like I want to date, cause I mean like I just want to see things out there. Like I have a couple of serious relationships, and it didn't work out. And then I'm just like, you know what? Both of them were from school. So one of them I dated when I was really young, and then one was like in college. So they're both in school. I never really experienced like you going out on a date with a person you just met. So after a while, I'm gonna try this out. So starting online dating, I'm actually in the dating scene, really, where it's just like, movies, dinner, and then like that's it. Rather than having a friend that you know for a while from school. So that was a really different experience for me too.
Yeah, I've I've tried online dating and dating out in public, and it's not easy. You just have to be confident, and you
Yeah.
guys have risen above that, which is awesome.
We
A lot
have
of people with disabilities don't they feel that they can't get past the hurdle of friendship because a lot of people don't take the time to educate themselves or to do research or to learn of the person that they're trying to date that has a physical or a mental disability.
yeah.
So what is some advice you'd give to someone that's, I guess, trying to start dating or just getting into the dating scene that you could possibly share?
From my perspective, just be yourself, because like I talk about this on my Instagram. Like I used to be quite ashamed of my walker, you can say. Like I don't like to be in pictures with my walker. Like if I post something, you will never see my walker in it. I try not to. And it's just like I don't like talking about that, especially to other people as well. But then, when I'm trying online dating, I just kind of force myself to like, you know what, they're gonna know anyway, so might as well be upfront with it. And then when I started dating Regan, I'm getting a little more comfortable, but just not as much. But as times go by and as I get older, I start to, like he helps me a lot with my confidence too. Like you can love yourself, but you have to have somebody there just to kind of cheer you on. I think, like you can love yourself all you want, but if everybody around you just kind of like not letting you do that or just think differently about you, it's really hard to rise above that. So I think you need to be with positive people. You can't be in a room full of negative people and then be like, you know what, if you don't love yourself, no one else will, because technically you can't really see yourself the way others see it if everybody else is going to be negative about you. So if you're around people who puts you down or makes you feel uncomfortable, maybe you're in the wrong group.
Yeah, that is definitely true. It's all about who you surround yourself with and how how you perceive the world around you. If you're always in a funk and you always think about everything negatively, then things will be negative. But if you surround yourself with positive people, that positivity it it's infectious, you know, it spreads to you, and it's a good kind of thing. You know, you want to spread positivity
Right.
instead of negativity all the time. It's one of those things where it's very complex, because as somebody who deals with cerebral palsy every day and knows people with different disabilities around, you see a lot of people deal with self-esteem issues, because they struggle with you know, the social keeping the social norms, you know, being around people, dating, finding a job, finding employment. That's another one.
Oh yeah, that's
It's not easy, and it seems like you two have conquered it so well. So what what has kept you strong all these last 4 years? What are some things that have helped you maintain that strong bond between you two?
I think it's just we click, you know, it's not that something we have to overcome or anything like that. I think we just got lucky is that our personality works really well together and we have a lot of things in common. So I don't think there's a lot of like obstacle for us to kind of like, well, we need to work this out in order for us to be successful. I think it is marriage is hard and also dating, but he makes it easy and we try to make, you know, work with each other. And I think it's just the fact that you just have to be with somebody who make you feel like yourself and not force, you know, like force a relationship to where you want to be perfect all the time. Like I would date like other people and I would make sure like, you know, my makeup's all nice and everything's great before I go out and things like that. And then I'm just kind of hold myself back. But with Regan, it just comes natural. Like when I laugh, laugh so hard and anything like that. You know, I don't hold back or anything. And you just kind of find that person if you in a relationship or if you're meeting people and you feel like you kind of have to hold yourself back, maybe it's not the one for you, in my opinion. There's
Yeah,
other
it's
things that we have overcome, you know, like financially, like, you know, with the wedding, with the house and things like that, and we run into some financial issue. That's an everyday thing. Every couple goes through it. But as far as with our relationship, I don't think it's that hard. But if you
No.
have anything you want to add,
Well, I mean, I think we just im- improve each other. You know,
yeah.
I push to be better as a person, as a husband, for her, and she does the same thing as a wife. And it's never we can't do this. It's that we're gonna try hard to accomplish what we want to do, like get a house or drive a nice car or stuff like that. Even in career wise, want to proceed further into our careers. You know, we push each other to go for those things instead of just settle down with where we were at before we met each other. And most of the time, and a lot of our talks with each other is that we basically once we found each other, our lives got a whole 180, and it went towards the better for our lives together.
that is beautiful. That is such a beautiful thing. Uh, Fong, what is it that you do for an
I
occupation?
work for Hilton Worldwide, which is the hotel chain.
That is
So
awesome.
yeah, like you mentioned earlier, finding work is hard. Yes. So when I was in college, I was actually a fashion major. I want to be in fashion, and I started with Neiman Marcus for a while, and I didn't like it because you know of how people are kind of snobby because it's the store for like the wealthy. So sometimes when you talk to people and they're just like, not really my thing. And I was working on the phone as well. And I want to be in store, but it's kind of hard for me, you know, especially with my disability, because it's going to be a lot of walking around, a lot of running. I did like a bunch of interviews, and some interview I feel like I did a really good job, and that I know what I'm doing. But at the same time, you know, there was like, oh, we'll just go with somebody like we think is more suited, and they didn't give me a reason. But in the back of my mind, it's like I would think, you know, I would know because it's like an office job where there's this one job that I really like love to get, which is like on a computer. Basically, I just like uploading photos and describing them and things like that, and which is basically I'm good with computers too. And we did an interview, and I had to be in the office, and I guess that was one of the main reason why they think like I might not be able to drive, because I told them I don't drive, but I was able to get like a cab or something like that. I'll find a way to do so, but they weren't too accommodating. And now that COVID happened, you can kind of see that everybody's working from home, so it's not impossible, but it's just kind of like people just don't seem to make that accommodation for disabled people, which is really sad.
Oh yeah, I can feel you. Uh, unfortunately, I'm a teacher, so I work hybrid. So I do face to face and online at the same time. So there's days where it gets overwhelming, but it's not impossible. And in your situation, as far as employment, I've gone through it before, and it's not an easy feeling. It leaves a sour taste in your mouth. But the one thing that I've learned is don't give up on yourself, especially when it comes to the job market or dating or marriage. The key to succeeding to that is just being positive and anything you aspire to. You know, if you want that job, you have to keep on as they say, you have to hustle. You
Right.
have to show them that you want it. You
Yeah.
have to within a couple of days call them again. Let them know, hey, you still have the job open? I'm
Yeah.
still interested. And when they hear that, they hear that confidence.
Mhm.
They hear that, hey, this person wants a job, even if they struggle with this particular situation. you know we want them, but we don't want that person that just decides to just take the job and not and do really shoddy. They just don't want to do it at all. So that's fantastic. That's awesome. Because it took me. I applied for my job twice, and twice I was denied. My third time, I got it
Oh, that's awesome.
because I wanted it.
So what grade did
So
you teach?
so that's awesome. That's awesome. And you guys have been so wonderful here today. I really appreciate you guys taking the time. Considering that it's like super late right now, and you guys are probably busy and have to do things, but it's been fantastic. I loved hearing your story. And um, do you guys have any plans to just do other speaking engagements? Do you guys plan? I mean, I know this is your first one, but I
Yeah.
feel like it's a great idea for you to branch out.
Yeah. I mean, if you have any availabilities, and just let us know. We'll love to talk more. And like we're just trying to continue for the future, and hopefully, be better as a couple and grow maybe a family one day too, which, we're thinking about it, but not yet. So there's gonna be hopefully more to come.
That is awesome, you guys. And like I said, it's been a pleasure. It's been wonderful. I'm glad that today was the perfect day to share your story, because as I mentioned earlier, it's Cerebral Palsy Awareness
Yeah.
Day. And what better occasion is to share a story of love and relationship when it comes to disability.
Yeah.
You know, such
Be
an exciting moment for me, and you guys are pretty much the first couple I have on the channel, so it's awesome.
Thank you.
So, do you guys have I guess any way that they can find your story? I mean, can people? I guess.
It's just basically my Instagram. I've been since it's
Okay.
March, since the 1st of March, I've been posting a lot about cerebral palsy. I basically try to post every day, with my walker, just to kind of help awareness. I also started a fundraiser for this hospital called Shriner Hospital that I was a patient when I grew up in Chicago, and they helped me a lot, just to improve on things. And they are a nonprofit to where they help families, with treatments, and they didn't have to worry about any cost or anything like that. So they did, cerebral palsy, any type of disability that a kid might have. You can definitely go and see them. They have many locations. So I'm just trying to advocate for them as well, because they took such great care of me, and my parents never paid a dime because we didn't have much money then, but it never seems to be a problem with them. So
That is awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, look, that right there is a testimony that just because you struggle with anything in life doesn't mean that you can't get to your goal. Um, especially when you're suffering from CP or any particular disability, you can still get married and you can still have a happy life. And there and Phuong and Regan are definitely a testimony that that can happen. You know, so don't give up. Don't give up. Keep pushing forward. And as I always say, you know, I appreciate all my guests on the show. You can find this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and every other major outlet out there. And remember, if I can do it, so can you.